Hello and welcome. I am Raghav, and continuing with our Python beginner series, today we are going to learn and see how we can use tuples in Python. So in the last session we learned about lists, and like lists we have tuples. There are a few differences which we will see, and this is going to be very easy and very interesting. So I'm going to replit.com where we have been creating all our code, and I will first create a new file. I will call it as tuples.py. You can name it anything, and all the notes, all the code I'm writing, all the links, if applicable, I will keep everything in the description section of this video, so you can check it there, and if you have any questions you can let me know in the comment section. So I have created this file tuples.py, and to run this I will have to call it or import it in main.py. So I'm going to main.py, and here I will just comment this. I'm pressing Ctrl// on my keyboard, and now in the new line I'm going to say import tuples, the name of the file without any extension. So now if I print anything or write any code here, I will say hello from tuples.py, and I will run this, and let's see, and yes, I'm getting this output here. Now some people pronounce it as tuples. Generally we call it as tuples, so that's fine, pronunciation is okay as long as we understand the concept. I'm also going to hide the sidebar, so I will click here to hide the sidebar, and I hope this is now very clear. Alright, so let's get started. Now here in Python, a tuple is similar to a list. In the last session we learned how to create lists and what are lists and how to use them. However, unlike lists, elements once assigned to a tuple cannot be changed. Alright, so this is the difference. This is the difference between list and tuples. In list we could change the elements, but in tuples we cannot change the elements. We can add the elements, but we cannot change them or delete them, and we will see in a moment how to do that. And to define a tuple, we place elements inside the bracket, that is parenthesis. Okay, so let's quickly create a tuple. I will call this as my tuple 1. I will say equals, and then within the parenthesis I will put something, and if I don't put anything, that will be a empty tuple. So this we can call it as empty tuple. And let me create another tuple. I will call it as my tuple 2. You can do hands-on along with me, and whenever you face any issues you can let me know in the comment section. So here let's say I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a tuple of integers. Then if I say my tuple 3 equals, and I put something like 1, 2, red, green, and then I put maybe some floating values 3.4, etc. So this is a tuple of mixed data or mixed data type. Okay, so you can put any data type, mixed data type, or any specific data type inside a tuple. Or I can also say, if I create a tuple called my tuple 4 and I add some elements 1, 2, and then I add another tuple inside it. Okay, and I add some elements in this tuple. So this is also valid. So we can have nested tuples, that is a tuple inside a tuple. So this will be nested tuple. In fact, we can also have list inside a tuple. So if I say my tuple 5 equals, and I say 1, 2, and to create a list we use these square brackets, and here if I say anything So this is also valid. And as we have learned, we cannot change the items in a tuple. However, if we have a list inside a tuple, the list are mutable, that is they can be changed. So this part we can change, but not anything which is directly a part of a tuple. And we will see this later on how to do this, but just for information, this is how we create tuples, and we can have different items, elements, mixed data type in a tuple. Okay. Now just to print a tuple, you just can just say print and the tuple name, let's say my tuple1, and I will save and run this. So you can see here it was an empty tuple, so it has printed this. Okay. Then we can also have one item in a tuple. However, let's say if I say I create a tuple called t1 and I just give a single item called this string. So this looks valid, but this will not be considered as a tuple, just as a string. Just to confirm, I can print the type of this t1. I can say print type of t1 and let's see what we get. I will save and run, and here you can see it is of class string. So what I have to do is I have to add a comma at the end to make it a tuple in case I have a single element in a tuple. So let's say I create another tuple called t1 t2, and here I say I create some string and then I give a comma at the end. And now if I try to print the type of t2, let's see, I will save and run, and now you can see now this is a tuple. So if you have a single item, then you just put a comma at the end. Okay. Now let us see how do we access elements in a tuple. So let's say I have a tuple called t1 and I have some elements here. I have these characters a, b, c, d. So these are the elements in the tuple. Now if I have to access any element, we use the index position of the element. For example, this is index position 0, then 1, 2 and 3. So if I have to access a here, I will say t1 and within square bracket I will give the index position which is 0. So if I have to print this, I will say print t1 0 index. If I run this, it is printing a. Alright. Similarly, if I say print t1 index 2 element, so this should print c which is at index position 2. Okay. Now we can also have negative indexing. What does this mean? So let's say if I say print t1 and within the square brackets if I say -1, this is allowed. You can see there is no error, but what will it print? Let us try to run and check. Here it is printing d, which is the last element of this tuple. So we can say -1 index to access the last item or element. Similarly, if I say print and I say t1 and I say -2, so can you guess? It will print the second last item. Okay, so I will save and run, and you can see it is printing C here. Okay, and we can also do slicing as we have seen in list to access a range of element. So we can do slicing to access range of elements or items, and then we use the slicing operator which is this colon. Okay, So this is similar as we have seen in list. Let's say I have a tuple, I will call it as my tuple, and I give some characters here. I say H, E, L, L, O. So this is my tuple, and if I say print my tuple, and then in the square brackets I give a range, I say 1 colon 4. So this will start from index position 1, which means the second element, to the index position just before fourth, that means the fourth element. So this will print second to fourth element. Okay, let us try to run and check. So you can see it starts from E, that is second element, and goes up to the second L, which is the fourth element. Okay, similarly, if I say, I will copy this, if I say in the index, I say I don't give any starting index, I just say colon, and then I say here -3. So this will mean I have to start from beginning and go up to -3, which in this case will be, so you can see this is -1, we know -1 is the last element, this is -1, this is -2, and this is -3. So this will go up to the second element, beginning to second element. Let us run and check. So you can see it prints H and E. Okay, similarly, if I say print and I give some static index, let's say 2, and then colon, and don't give anything, the ending index, so that would mean we have to start from the third element to the end of this tuple. Let us run and check. So you can see it starts with L and goes up to the end. And in case I say print my tuple and I just give a colon without any start or end index, that would mean start to end. It will print the entire tuple. So let's see, you can see it is printing the entire tuple. So this is how you can do slicing in a tuple to print a range of elements. Alright, now next let us see how can we change elements of a tuple. Now as we have already discussed in the beginning, tuples are immutable. So tuples are immutable, that means the elements once assigned cannot be changed. So once assigned we cannot change the elements. However, if a tuple contains any mutable elements like lists, they can be changed, and this is something I discussed initially as well. So tuples, any element which is directly a part of a tuple cannot be changed. However, if the element is in turn a mutable element like a list, that can be changed. For example, I create a tuple called my tuple, and here I will give some elements 1, 2, 3, and then I create a list by using these square brackets, and here I give some elements, I say H E L L O. Okay, so there is a list which is one of the elements of this tuple. So if I say I'll just print this, I will print my tuple, and then if I say my tuple and I have to access this particular element, that is this list which is a element of a tuple. So this is at index position 0, 1, 2, 3. So I will say my tuple 3, and then I have to access some particular element within this list. Let's say I have to take this particular element, which is this particular character L, which is at index position 0, 1, 2, 3 of this list. So again I will say 3 and 3. Alright. This is something we have also discussed in the list session. If we have a nested list, how can we access element of a nested list and so on. So this is, we have first, by using the index position 3 of the tuple, we accessed this particular element which is a list, and then within the list we are accessing the item at index position 3 which is this L, and this I will make equal to, let us say, O, and after this I will print the tuple and let us see if it is changed. So I will save and run, and yes, you can see earlier it was this and now it is changed to this. So this L is changed to O. Okay. Now next is, we will see how we can use the plus and the star or the asterisk symbol. So this is to concatenate and repeat. Okay, so we can combine, or we can say concatenate tuples using the plus symbol, and we can say repeat tuple items using the star or the asterisk symbol. Okay, so let's say I create a tuple called my tuple, and here I am adding some elements 1, 2, 3, and then I will say print my tuple, and then I will say plus, and I add one more tuple here 4, 5, 6, and then let us see, I will run and check. So you can see it has printed by adding the tuple elements. Then if I say print my tuple and I say star 3, and let us save and run, and here you can see it has repeated the elements of the tuple 3 times. Okay, now how to loop a tuple? So here, how to do looping through a tuple. So here we can very easily use the for loop. We have already discussed about loops in the loops session. So I can say for I or item in any tuple, let's say my tuple. I can directly also give a tuple like this here. Instead of storing and then giving the name, I can directly also give the tuple like this, or in this case I will use the tuple I have created, which is my tuple, and a colon, and then I am just printing the item. Okay, I will save and run, and you can see it is printing 1, 2, and 3, and you can see here this is my tuple which has just these 3 elements 1, 2, and 3. When we printed these things, we never stored it in the tuple. We are just printing, we never stored it back to the tuple. Therefore the tuple just remains this, and therefore when we use the for loop, it is printing 1, 2, and 3 here. Okay, now finally let us see deleting a tuple. Okay, so we know tuples are immutable, therefore, and immutable means we cannot change the items of a tuple, therefore we cannot delete items or elements in a tuple. However, we can delete the tuple itself. Alright. So let's say if I say delete and I say my tuple, so I cannot say delete my tuple and give some particular index position. So if I do this, let us see what happens. If I do this, there should be an error. You can see tuple object doesn't support item deletion. However, if I just say delete my tuple, then it will be deleted. And if I then try to access the tuple, it will again throw an error. So let us say if I say my tuple, you can see here itself it is showing this red line. That means this will throw an error. Still, if I run this, you can see here my tuple is not defined. Okay, so now this is how you can see now it is running fine. Okay, so this is how we can use tuples in Python. I hope this was very useful. I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.